Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? Well, I've been playing in this Call of Cthulhu, 6th edition campaign run by Anthony, aka Runeslinger, on YouTube, or Casting Shadows on his blog and on his podcast now. And I asked my friend Anthony to run this because he is, that's one of his favorite games. He is a master at running Call of Cthulhu, and so I want to see what that was like. And I've talked about it so far in some other videos. But one of the things I like to do is reflect on and talk about the experiences and why did certain things go a certain way, and why did I feel a certain way, what my experiences were, why did I make certain decisions, all that kind of stuff. Now, I've played in one solo session. I played with Joe from the Hindsightless podcast. He's playing another character. I played with Brian Courtmunch, who I do not believe has a podcast or a YouTube channel or anything like that, but he has written for Chaosium, and he's a great guy. I know that my other friend Brian from the Stochastic Agency channel is also playing some solo sessions, and I believe that Craig from Third Floor Wars was supposed to play in another character in another solo session in the same campaign or universe or whatever you want to call it, same 1931 Boston, but so far that's been thwarted. But hopefully they get to play. Anyhow, I've played, probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 sessions, something like that. Some of them with the 3 players, with Brian, Courtmunch, and Joe and I. Some solo with myself, a couple with just, at least one with just Joe and I, and at least 2 with just Brian and I. So, they've all been different. It's been a great experience, but I wanted to talk about some experiences I had recently because I was thinking about, why did this feel like that? Why did that go like that? That sort of thing. Now, the first thing I was talking to Anthony about is, we haven't sat down and made this decision and talked and say, we are all going to be in character and only talk in character and only use the first person and all that sort of stuff. Playing with Joe, that's what he's done. I try to do that as much as possible. And, one of the things I like to do is try to immerse. You can immerse in several things, but I try to immerse in the in-character experience. So I want to be Terrence McSweeney. I want to think the way he thinks and all that sort of stuff. I've noticed that Brian will kind of vacillate back and forth between, first person and third person. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. I mean, that's how most people play. We didn't sit down and say, this is the only way we're going to play, so you shouldn't do that. Anthony and I talked about that a little bit. And what's interesting about it is that it doesn't jar me the way it would jar me with some other people. And I thought about, well, gee, why is that the case? And I really like playing with Brian. I really like playing with Joe. I'm not saying either of them is a bad player. I prefer one over the other. That's not the point. I said, gosh, why is it that that's not jarring to me at all? Every once in a while, it would be a little jarring for a second when he would refer to, Alfred Smalls in the third person, because typically he was referring to him in the first person. And I was like, but, for a second, I'm like, oh, that's kind of odd that he said that. But it wasn't upsetting. It wasn't that kind of jarring. And why was that? And the only thing I can come up with is he's so descriptive. He's so good at describing things. He's also just so fun to play with. And his character is so larger than life and entertaining that back and forth, the thing that like Anthony will call, like kind of tongue-in-cheek, the second person, when you're vacillating between first and third person, that really hasn't bothered me. That's one of the things I've noticed is that, while imagination and immersion are not the same thing, I can, as he's describing his character, as he's describing the some of the area around him, including, things not only limited to the condition of his character's dwelling, but say maybe, details about a bakery or about a Chinese restaurant that we went to, that you might not normally insert if you were trying to play completely in character. I'm not sure exactly how he describes or what exactly it is, but I can see these things vividly. I know exactly what Smalls looks like, what he sounds like. I know what the various establishments look like and the NPCs that he sort of created look like. And it makes the setting, the imagined situation, that much more real for me. So I really dig it, because that's part of what I'm immersing in as well. I'm immersing in the in-character experience, and I'm imagining, try to really get into Terrence McSweeney's head, which I'll talk about in a second. But I'm also I'm going back and forth and immersing in the imagined situation. I don't want to call it the bigger picture, because it's not really the bigger picture, but just the sights and sounds, all that sort of stuff, and the other characters. So sometimes I'm just immersing in, or the situation as a whole. Man, this is really weird, from a different level than, say, Mr. McSweeney. take a look at it. And, which kind of ushers in my other thought, or things I was kind of alluding to before, is it's kind of interesting, and I have to tease apart sometimes, like, what kind of conclusions am I coming to as Ivan during the campaign? What kind of things am I noticing that are happening as Ivan, and conclusions that I'm coming to as Ivan, and maybe from a part of a meta, standpoint, for lack of a better word. I don't want to use that because it gets too, it's too loaded. And what kind of things am I noticing, and what kind of conclusions am I drawing as Terrence McSweeney? I as Terrence, or I as Ivan. Are there times? There are definitely times when we are both thinking the same thing. But there's other times that as Ivan is coming to one conclusion, but Terrence McSweeney is coming to a different conclusion because we just know different things. And it's interesting to notice that, and it's, there's one of those moments where I have to be careful, or I try to be careful, making decisions based upon the perspective of Terrence McSweeney and not from the perspective of Ivan. Whether that's because this would be the most intelligent thing to do or the most dramatic thing to do or whatever. I want to, as much as possible, stay true to that character. So that's kind of an interesting line to toe. And there's those moments where you can see us kind of grinning at each other, where we know damn well what's going on as the real flesh and blood people. But our characters might not quite be making those same inferences. And so that's kind of interesting as well. So I've had a lot of fun, in that campaign, noticing these things. And, some of the things from the experience of Terrence McSweeney is he's had some really, really, cool, although very jarring moments, where I'm coming at it looking at, he's seeing a friend of his and realizing that friend has just witnessed something absolutely horrible and traumatic. Seeing not only the condition of his friend, but just it really hit me was this kind of gut punch. That, wow, I can't believe that poor guy. That moment of empathy for another human being who isn't real. But I and Terrence are both having this moment of extreme empathy and are profoundly moved by that. The other moments where Terrence and I have been really moved or affected by the things that's happened to him. We had some great discussions, afterwards, which hopefully Anthony will put up on his channel as well as separate videos. There are these moments where I'm having these experiences and making these decisions, and it's left me all of a sudden. Which one? Well, hopefully it comes back before I stop the video. Where it's really been really been fascinating and interesting to have that kind of, man, this is really awful, or this is something else. The experiences that Terrence has had, being having his whole worldview kind of come apart. He's used to seeing the Irish mob in Boston as being in control of just about everything. They're incredibly powerful, but then realizing all of a sudden that, wow, there's something there that they're scared of. And, that's really quite something else. The experiences that he's having, hearing things that, and having these hallucinations, maybe, where he's trying to justify, this can't possibly really be happening. And we were talking a lot about the sanity mechanic, which I alluded to in other videos, if you're still with me in this long video, where we talked about the use of the sanity mechanic. And I'm really liking it because as I'm in the mindset of Terrence McSweeney, of my character, I can feel him as things are happening just through role play and through that in-character experience, where he's getting more and more affected by the strange things around him, where he's becoming more and more unhinged. But then when we have a sanity roll and he succeeds, I can feel it, as he's justifying, okay, there's got to be something, isn't that what this quantum mechanics, the world is stranger than we know. And there's those times when he fails a sanity roll where I kind of feel it almost as like a little snap. It's almost like a physical snap that I'm feeling in my head, where he's bending, things are really and you get that little jar of a snap where he's really starting to lose it just a little bit more and becoming more permanently affected by the things he's witnessing. And so I'm finding that to be a fascinating experience, as well as I'm internalizing the mechanical part of the game and translating that into an in-character experience. So stuff like that, these are things that have been on my mind, things that I have been talking to my friends about, because I think it's really instructive to watch yourself, watch the other players, watch yourself, and think about why do things go this way? Are there things we could do different? You know, I had this experience. Why did I have this experience? Do I want to do anything different? Is this cool? Do I want to lean into it? All that kind of good junk. Anyhow, have a good one, kids. I'm going to make a bass guitar video pretty soon. Bye.